Welcome to the Empowered Mind podcast with Joelle and Natalie Rivera. We are on a never-ending quest to master the power of our mind, develop a growth mindset, and explore the leading edge of positive psychology and human potential so we can take radical personal responsibility for creating our destinies and reaching our potential.
So let me ask you, are you addicted to drama? Yes? Addicted to drama. And you can get addicted to drama. In fact, a lot of studies show that being addicted to drama is worse than being addicted to other drugs such as crack and cocaine. And we'll talk more about that in a couple minutes. But the reality is that a lot of times in our lives, in our society, we find people, and you probably have those people around you, you might be one of them, that you have all these situations that keep coming up that bring drama to your life. And then you got to ask yourself, why is that? Why is it that I have so much drama or chaos in my life? Is it because I'm creating it, or is it because it's actually there naturally?
And another thing to look at, which is something that we've both experienced, is that we're the type of people that if you ask us, we say, we hate drama. Like, we will do anything we can to try to avoid it. But at different points of our lives, before we really understood how it worked, we might feel like we really don't like it. We want to avoid people that cause drama. We want to avoid conflict, all of these things. But yet at the same time, it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. So if this has happened to you, you probably just assume, oh, this is just normal. This is, how people act, and a lot of people that we've worked with, it's like they grow up in that environment, or they're in relationships where people are nasty to each other, or there's always, a conflict or an argument, or they yell at each other, and they feel like it's like this is just normal. But the truth is, it's actually not normal, in the sense that not everybody does that. Not everybody goes through that or experiences it or allows it in their life. And you do have a choice. So if you actually don't like it, but you find you keep doing it anyway, then this is really important to look at.
Yeah. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was former psychology professor, and I had one of the students come up to me, and he was talking to me about something that he was frustrated about. He was talking about him and his wife were constantly arguing. And as he was explaining to me one of the arguments that they just had, he was smiling when he was talking. And I pointed it out to him. I was like, it seems like you like it though. And he smiled, and he said, yeah, because this and that. And what he recognized at that point was that he was partially creating the drama in his life, because we maintain that drama because we're getting something out of it. And part of that is because we get chemicals. Our brain is a chemical factory. So when we have drama, it creates addictive chemicals, just like any drug does, just like, again, like cocaine or anything like that. So we look for it because it's filling a chemical need that we have within ourselves.
And so if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And once I realized this, it really blew my mind. And it's that when we think about addiction, we think about people taking a drug, putting it into their body, and the body triggers hormones and brain chemicals that make us feel a certain way. And so not only do we like the way it makes us feel, but then it actually trains the body and the brain to need the drug in order to produce this chemical, right? So the same exact thing happens with drama in life. So this can be any form of conflict, like when you're getting angry at people. Even uncertainty can produce brain chemicals. There's ultimately a brain chemical for every emotion you feel. But at the same time, there's positive brain chemicals that also are part of the dynamic, which again, we're going to get into in just a second. But the point I'm making here is it would be like having a pharmacy of drugs available to you 24 hours a day, because you do, inside of your own brain. Because the truth is, your brain doesn't need those drugs to release these chemicals. You can go out there and get in an argument and get the exact same ones.
Yeah, and part of it is, have you ever heard the term adrenaline junkie? And that's really what it comes down to. Adrenaline is very addicting. So it's called, part of it is the crazy eight syndrome. And when we have drama in our lives, it produces a lot of adrenaline. So we have this fight or flight, our brain gets stimulated, we produce this. It's almost like this addictive tendency. And then we kind of have that 8 cycle where it kind of cycles and plateaus. And then we kind of make up with the person, or we talk it out, or we're able to connect with the person in some other level, which makes us feel good. And what happens when we feel good? It releases another chemical, which releases dopamine and endorphins and different chemicals that make us feel good. So it rewards us. So then we have that cycle of getting the adrenaline, which is very addicting. And then we get it reinforced by the makeup and that part of it that then reinforces and feeds us by making us feel good.
And so the simple answer to why is it that we would unconsciously create conflict and drama in our lives is because the conflict and drama produces brain chemicals like adrenaline. And it's a high, even though it's an unpleasant one, our body actually becomes dependent on that feeling. And then on the flip side of it, then we make up and everything's hunky-dory and it's great. And you get all these flood of chemicals that make you feel fantastic. And then you start to believe that you need to have the conflict in order to get those feel-good chemicals. And then it just spirals.
Yeah, and part of the crazy is, for example, you might feel sadness, and then have the feel good because you got that attention. Someone gave you a hug or said, Joelle, are you okay? And, so you're creating that feel good chemical because you're getting that attention, that human need that we have for contact and to feel loved and feel connected to people. And so then we get that. And then we might move to anger, because then it gives us that adrenaline rush, another chemicals that our body needs. So it comes in many different ways. It doesn't have to be anger. It could just be frustration. If you constantly live in a state of frustration, you might look at that and say, am I addicted to being frustrated? Am I addicted to things going wrong?
And really, I think that that's an important point, is that everyone has their own patterns when it comes to it. It doesn't always show itself as being dramatic or loud. It could be, like Joelle said, maybe it's being sad, maybe it's being aloof or depressed, and you get attention for it, and then it gives you that feel-good feeling. So just reflect on yourself. What do you tend to do that you kind of sort of have an idea that maybe you're going to get a good emotional reaction, either out of yourself or somebody else? Do you have a pattern? Do you tend to start fights? Do you tend to be sad in order to get attention or complain about problems in order to get attention? What is the cycle for you? Are you stuck in some sort of a crazy eight?
Yeah. And I'm just going to add one more thing, and I'm not going to get too scientific here with it, but you have these cells, and every cell has receptor sites. So all these receptor sites are there to take in the chemicals that your body produces. So for example, if you produce a lot of adrenaline in your life, then every time the cell splits, it produces more receptor sites to be able to take in the adrenaline that your body produces a lot of. So what happens when you're not producing as much because you're making changes in your life? Then your body feels like it needs these chemicals. So with that said, it means that when you're creating change in your life, just recognize that sometimes it takes time to create a different pattern, to create a different need. And the same thing can happen to happiness. For example, if you get yourself used to feeling in a state of joy and happiness because you start watching a lot of YouTube videos, start listening to a lot of good songs, start surrounding yourself with positive people, then your body is actually going to crave that chemical. So what is it going to do? It's going to look for more ways to create more of that. So it's recognizing that you have a pattern right now, possibly, of negative emotions that you're addicted to. But you can also get addicted to positive emotions where your mind, body, and yourself, your being, looks for more of that to create of it.
And so on that note, reflect on it, identify what it is that you're doing, in what ways you might be addicted to drama, and then decide what emotions you want to experience and create more of those. And over time, deal a little bit with the discomfort that happens during that process of shifting your patterns, and you would be amazed how much you can retrain your brain to actually create patterns that are beneficial, that make you feel good, and to stop depending on drama in order to enjoy your life.
We hope that helps. Stop the drama.
Thank you, fellow Freedom Junkies, for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to help us grow, please rate and share this podcast. You can also become a member of Freedom Nation. Visit freedomourbustpodcast.com and sign up to receive access to exclusive content and take the 21-day Happiness Challenge. As you know, we believe that entrepreneurship is the ultimate form of empowerment, which is why we created the Side Hustle Business Startup course for anyone looking to create their own income and take back their power. We offer an exclusive discount for our podcast listeners. Find out more at freedomourbustpodcast.com.